this is a PowerPoint about the travel agency mini set. Starting with Death Knight, ignore the really bad card quality because it takes them like 8 hours to update the website, etc. These cards are actually really interesting. Soul Searching is a 2-mana shadow spell with 2 unholy runes. Discover a card from your deck, spend 5 corpses to copy it. That's just Moonlit Guidance or the toy chest card from the new one that spell damage from Druid. It's really strong. This card definitely will be playable in probably both formats, I would say. Definitely in Wild, like no question you put this in your even Death Knight, like not in a question at all. It's just good card draw, gives you more options. It's just good, objectively. There's 100% chance that they made this a 2-rune card specifically so you can't run it with Climatic Necrotic Explosion because every card in the game has to work around Climatic Necrotic Explosion in some way, shape, or form because, yeah. So there is that, but Triple Unholy Death Knight is pretty good, so you're not that upset in Wild. Then you have Eternal Layover. This card is, like, really expensive. I guess you're supposed to, like, play it and then play, like, Molten Magma to, like, destroy your opponent's board and all that, but, like, that's 6 mana. Yeah, it'll trigger your death rattles and stuff like that, but is that worth it? I don't think so in, like, any way, shape, or form. It seems really, really, really weak. Maybe there's something that, like, I'm not seeing or other people aren't seeing with this card, but it just seems like a really weak card, I'm gonna be honest with you. Maybe if it were 3 mana, it would be, like, decent, but... then we have Travel Security. 6 mana, 2/2 Taunt. Undead, Death Rattle, summon a random 8-cost mini. It's so bad. It's incredibly, incredibly expensive. It's horrible stats, horrible tempo. It's super slow. And then, like, summoning a random 8-cost isn't good. Shocking, I know. Summoning random minions isn't that good, especially when it's really expensive to do so. Yeah. Then we have Demon Hunter. So Demon Hunter does look a little bit promising with Infernal Stapler. It is a 3-mana 3/3 weapon, which is pretty decent. As well as you deal 3 damage to your hero, which synergizes with other cards that are from the damage archetype in Priest that we'll get to. But overall, it seems like a pretty good weapon. Running with Arana is going to be pretty nice because you swing with Arana, hit a minion, and then you'll deal like 3 damage to yourself and however much damage the minion was, and then deal that to your opponent's face. Probably is going to be worth it. Then you have Spirit Peddler. I have no idea what this card is really supposed to be used for. It's a 6-mana, 6/6 demon with Death Rattle, reduce the cost of random minion in your hand by 6. The idea is you're probably supposed to discount, like, Argus or something. I really don't know. I'm not too sure what this is supposed to discount. Maybe it's just, you know, mini set card, something next expansion will add up into it. Probably is what's going to happen, but as for right now, it seems kind of just not good. Then we have Demonic Deal. It is 2 mana, lifesteal, deal 4 damage to a minion, but it puts a random demon that costs 5 or more in your deck. It generates it. It doesn't like take it from your deck and put it on top. If it was take a random 5 or 5 cost or more demon from your deck and put it on top, it would probably be a really good card, actually. Like an actually very good card. Because either it would just have no additional effect, because you just wouldn't run demons that cost 5 or more, which would probably be fine. Or it would let you tutor specific demons on top of being a strong card. But it's not, so I don't know. I feel like they should have just made it be like a demon tutor, and it would have been like a significantly better card, but we have to have like bad card generation for +1 damage over Penance or Drain Soul, I guess. So dumb. So dumb. Then we have Druid. So Druid has, I think they're called dual-sided cards, is what the brochures are. They're the same as like Harmonics from Festival of Legends, just renamed. They're exactly the same. So it starts as Ungoro Brochure, draw 2 minions, give them +2/+2. That's really bad. But Dalaran Brochure is draw 2 spells, they cost 1 less. That one would have potential, I think, if it were just like that without having the Ungoro Brochure. But obviously it isn't. So, yeah, I think the card just sucks because it has the Ungoro Brochure part to it. Handle with Bear is get 2 3/3 bears with Taunt. Each turn they are in your hand, they gain +1/+1. So they're 3 mana 3/3s with Taunt. If you play it on turn 2 and then get to turn 3, it will be a 4/4 that you can play for 3 mana, and that's like okay. It's not that great, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's just like the game is well past where that is kind of good for like Druid. It just seems like kind of bad. And then like, yeah, they can keep ramping, but like, so you don't really care. It's kind of just not that useful of an effect overall. And then lastly, you have Number Cruncher. So this can be a 4 mana 8/1 with Rush. Broken, needs nerfed. or a 4 mana 2/7, or a 4 mana 6/3, or a 4 mana 4/5. I think those are the only options. Yeah, it's just like not that good. It's kind of just like mediocre at best. Like, yeah, 4 mana 6/3 with Rush and Taunt is like okay, but it's not that great. It would need to have an additional effect to be that good. And then because it's choose thrice, it's not choose one, so you can't like combine them together because choose thrice is its own keyword. It's now the second choose thrice card, which is funny because choose twice still only has one card, but I don't know. Druid overall kind of didn't really get anything this expansion. Death Knight got one good card, Demon Hunter got one good card, Druid really didn't. Then we get the Hunter, which also got 3 bad cards. These are just like laughably bad. Like, what the fuck is this, man? Monkey Business is 4 mana, add 8 bananas to your hand. Any that can't fit are randomly fled to a friendly minion in play. So it's like Blessing of Kings with like extra steps. Oh boy, wow. It's just like a really, really bad card. If it were 10 bananas, it would be better because you're likely to get 6 or +6 from 6 from it if it were 10 bananas. But at 8 bananas, you're most of the time getting like +4/+4 or +5/+5. Oftentimes, you're not even getting that. You're getting way less. So you're just getting 8 bananas for 4 mana, which is fucking actually terrible. Like, actually unbelievably bad. I don't know what this card is supposed to do, what it's supposed to be used for at all. I could not tell you. It just seems like a really just unbelievably terrible card. Then we have Workhorse, which is a 2017 card. 3 mana, 4/2, Beast, Death Rattle, summon 2/1 ponies. This is actually a 2017 card. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This card could have been printed in 2017. It would have been not that great back then. It's just genuinely a bad card. What the fuck? And then lastly, we have Cash Cow. So Cash Cow was revealed with Workhorse as 2 cards that Hunter got revealed. They then delayed the last card, Monkey Business, to its own reveal. So everyone and their mother thought, oh wait, Cash Cow, it gives you a coin. Coins are a big thing for Rogue this expansion. That means we'll get the Rogue Tourist. It's also why we have a 2 Hunter reveals instead of 1. Just like we had 2 Shaman reveals. And we have a Shaman Legendary. So that means Hunter must get the Rogue Legendary. Or the Rogue Tourist. Nope. We just got Cash Cow, which is an unbelievably fucking useless card in every fucking way. And no Rogue Tourist to go alongside it. What the actual fuck? What the actual fuck, man, are they doing? This is just like... I don't know. I don't know. Let's go to the next one. There we got Mage. Guess what? Mage got the Rogue Tourist. Wow! Huddle Up is just, like, really bad. I don't really need to talk about it very much. I mean, just read the card. It's obviously not very good. I think even in Standard, the average Naga is, like, 3 mana, 3/3. Like, on average, which is really bad. But Burn Down is actually a really good card. 3 mana, draw 3, light them on fire, in 3 turns, any enhance, still destroyed, blah, blah, blah. Overall, if you just run like a low-ish curve mage deck, that is just it's just 3 mana, draw 3 with no downside. Like, at all. Does this see play in Wild? Probably not, because you can't really play anything that would make this work, but, you know, there's always a chance that something comes for it. In Standard, I'm not too sure if you'd want to play this in, like, Big Spell Mage, which is kind of the idea of these cards, but, seems a bit odd. And then we have Portal Mancer Skyla. So it's a 5 mana 4/5 battle cry. Swap the cost of lowest and highest cost spells in your hand. So if you have a bunch of coins because you're rogue, you can swap all your like 10 cost spells to cost 0, which is probably going to be pretty decent. I'm gonna have to be honest. I'm not too sure if it'll be like really good, but it'll probably be pretty decent. The thing is, though, is that you're a Rogue Tourist, so you get Knick-Knack Shack, and O-Manager, and Metal Detector, and Conniving Conman, and Seashill, which are all really strong cards. Even by Wild standards, those are good cards. They would have been really good in Hunter. Genuinely, they would have actually made Hunter incredibly powerful. But guess fucking what? Rogue, or Mage can't even use half of those cards, even in Standard. Like, Mage is not going to run something like O-Manager. Maybe he'll run Metal Detector. Maybe. But like Seashill and Conniving Conman, I don't think those cards really see much play in Mage and Standard. I'm going to be so honest with you. Probably not even Knick-Knack Shack. So like, why the fuck did they do this? Why? Why, man? Like, I just... Then we have Paladin. Vacation Planning is actually a really good card. It's 4 mana, restore 4 health, which is not that great. but then you summon three in stats, which is pretty okay, and then you draw 2 cards, which ties it all together. It just does a lot for 4 mana that it's definitely good enough for standard. It's probably good enough for wild overall. It's like really good for bumping with your Barov. It's like a quick heal. It gives you card draw. It's just a pretty good card. I think it will see play in like Reno Paladin and Wild. Potentially like an even Paladin or something like that. Probably not, but there's always a world. Then you have Trustfall. This is just like a bad value card. It's maybe good enough in standard if you like hit like 2 5-drops and then you tempo 1 on 5 and then say it's like, I don't even know, you get like an okay 5-drop and then it has +5/+5 because of the other 5-drop. You know, that's probably going to be good enough for standard, like tempo-wise. Otherwise, it's just like not that great. Even like Paladin is like hand buff Paladin and that's kind of it. Like Lanessa Paladin is okay, but it's just not that great. Trustfall just like kind of sucks. I don't know. And then we have Busybot, 2 mana, 3/2, mech, Battlecry, give your 1 attack minions +1/+1. This card's probably really good. It's supposed to be pushing like a Silverhand Recruit Paladin that isn't odd specifically, which maybe could work, maybe. Busybot's also a mech, so, you know, a lot of mechs in Mech Paladin have 1 attack, and giving them +1/+1 probably is good enough. Mech Paladin is kind of weak, though, because, you know, Mech Warper went to 4, but it needed to, because God, is Mech Paladin degenerate. It's one of the most degenerate decks ever. So yeah, overall, this is like a pretty decent expansion for Paladin. I think Vacation Planning is really good, and Busybot has potential. Or not expansion, but mini set. Then we have Priest. So Priest also got a brochure. It's Gelneus and Silver Moon brochures. These cards are just bad. Like, they're just straight up bad. Like, what do I say? Gelneus brochure is a bad card. Silver Moon brochure is a bad card. Even if they didn't have the flip, they're both bad cards. So let's move past that. Job Shadower is probably good enough for the self-damage, like, Demon Hunter that they're trying to make work. It's a lot of stats. It's a 3 mana 8/6 for just swinging a 3/3 weapon. Like, that's a lot of stats. I'm gonna be so honest with you. So it probably is going to be good enough in standard. In Wild, meh. That's all I can really say is just meh. Maybe you could play like Odd Demon Hunter and run a Rana and Job Shadower and Stapler and Acupuncture and T and the 5/5 and Brain Masseuse. That's all the cards. They're all odd cost, which is actually pretty interesting now that I think about it. They are all odd cost. And then you have Envoy of Prosperity. This is like, technically this works with like Empty Hand Demon Hunter, which is kind of funny. Obviously it's a priest card and you wouldn't really run a Rana in an Empty Hand Demon Hunter because it like screws over your Magnifying Glaive, blah, blah, blah. But the main use of it is for Twilight Medium, which is the 5 mana minion that sets the top card of your deck to 1, and then Naren Soothfancy, which is get 2 like fortunes that are copies of the top card in your deck. So you could put like, play Naren and then play like Envoy and Twilight Medium and then have like 3 1-cost Renos or something. Or more likely Aman'Thuls. And that's not that bad. It's not great, don't get me wrong, but it's like not the worst thing ever. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not the worst thing ever. Will that see play? Potentially in standard, potentially. In Wild, probably not. 2 mana 4/4 with like Priest doesn't have good enough card draw to make use of this card in Wild in Shadow Priest. Like, you're kind of just really upset if you put your cards back with Shadow Priest, but it is still a 2 mana 4/4, so there might be a world. Maybe I'm wrong about it in Shadow Priest, but I don't think so. Then we have Rogue. So Rogue got Sharp Shipment, which is likely just going to be good enough in standard weapon Rogue. You can cut your Air Guitarist to make your dig for treasure always hit Swarthy Sword Shiner, which means you always get a coin, you always get your Sword Shiner on your quick pick, things like that. And then because it's a spell, you don't have to worry about that. You could prep it out as well to give your weapon +2/+2. The durability is pretty big. The downside is that you can't Shadow Step your Air Guitarist to also just get 2 durability. So, you know, maybe it's going to be good. A lot of people seem to think it probably will be good enough for standard weapon Rogue, but I'm a little iffy. If it were 3 mana, it would be no question, but at 4 mana, it just seems a little too expensive. Then you have Robocaller. So Robocaller is weird. It always starts with 8/8/8 cards drawn. Then it will change randomly after the next turn. So it's actually really good with things like Everything Must Go and Snatch and Grab in standard because they are 8-cost cards, but Robocaller draws 3 cards. So Everything Must Go will be discounted by 2 if you play Robocaller on the same turn. That's not, or well, 3, I guess. That's nothing to scoff at. You know, you could make it so your everything must goes are cheaper and like play them a lot earlier in the game and tutor them specifically. And that's like maybe okay enough for standard. Maybe. I really couldn't tell you. I don't think that deck really has that many legs, especially with, you know, the nerf. They nerfed it twice. They nerfed Gaslight Gatekeeper and they nerfed Celestial Projectionist instead of just nerfing the Giant. I don't know why they did it, but whatever. And then Agency Espionage is just like an awful meme card. I mean, it's academic espionage, but yeah, but new. It's just not worth talking about. It's just a bad card. Then you have Shaman. So Shaman also has a brochure, Ice Crown, and Blackrock. It starts as Ice Crown, then it goes to Blackrock, I think, if that's correctly, but I don't think this card's that good. Deal 2 mana, deal 3 damage to a minion, freezes neighbors, 2 mana, deal 3 damage to a minion, and 1 to its neighbors. So the Blackrock is just Grievous Bite, and Grievous Bite is a bad card. Just straight up. And I think that the flip effect of something like Ice Crown Brochure is just not worth it. Like, freezing minions is, like, okay, but in Wild, there's just no point to ever play this card. Giants are gone. There's no point to play it. In Standard, it just seems kind of bad, I'm gonna be honest. Then you have Hydration Totem. Hydration Totem actually seems like it will be good enough for Wild. And definitely, even Shaman. Even Shaman has a lot of really powerful turn 2 options. So getting something like Hydration Totem, which kind of might replace Flame Tongue Totem, is what I'm thinking, is pretty good. Yeah, it's 1 less attack than Flame Tongue Totem, but it's also 1 health over Flame Tongue Totem, which does add up, you know? I've always said this. Giving minions health is very significant in Wild because it screws over breakpoints. The breakpoint from 2 to 3 is like pretty significant, like very significant. There aren't that many good cards that deal 3 damage to minions. That's why I always say it's really important. And then you have Turbulus. Sorry. This card's fucking awful. Like, everyone knows that Hunter has one of, if not the worst sets, and the worst mini set. Like, that's not a question as well. So getting this card is like, well, what's the point? You get Parrot Sanctuary for a 4-mana 3/4 that takes up a spot in your deck and has like an okay at best battle cry? Hell no, you're not running this card. Like, you could potentially run things like Pet Parrot and Chatty Macaw with, you know, some good cards like Dehydration or Wind Chill or Altered Chord, but like, those probably aren't good enough to run in Wild. And in Standard, I desperately doubt that you will be able to do it without something like Wind Chill. Wind Chill is just like by far the best card to make use of Chatty Macaw, and if you don't have it in Standard, well, Then we have Warlock. So Warlock has cards. Fine Print is kind of not that good. 4 mana, deal 4 damage all minions, excess damage hits your hero. You might be thinking, oh, but what about Questline Warlock? No. Questline Warlock doesn't need a card like this, like, at all. In fact, it's like so bad that you will just like you'll over damage your quest if you can ever make it work. So that's like a waste of damage. So you just took a bunch of free damage for no reason. And like, if you're playing against a pirate deck and you play this on turn 4, you're just dead. Like, straight up, you will die if you play 4 mana, if you play this card against a pirate deck. Because they have already dealt enough damage to you that playing Fine Print to clear their board will actually just kill you. I don't think this card has any legs in either format. Like, it just seems kind of bad. I'm gonna be honest. Then we have Employee of the Month. I don't think this card does anything at all. Like, giving a friendly minion lifesteal for a 2 mana 3/2 demon is kind of not that good. It is an imp. And that could matter in the future. We don't know. I mean, there are a couple of imps that have been printed recently. You know, maybe it matters, maybe, but I'm not too sure. Otherwise, it just seems kind of weird and bad. It doesn't give attack like Minari Mosher did, but it doesn't specify demon, so maybe there's something I'm missing. And then we have Deadline. This card seems like really good for Standard. It's just 2 mana, destroy a minion. It has Tradable, which is a very good effect, and has Temporary. If you don't know what Temporary is, I don't know how. And in current year, I don't know how. But it discards the card at the end of your turn. It's good. This card's really good. I think you potentially run this in Even Warlock. You would run this in any slow Warlock if there was one in Wild. And I think you run this just in Standard as just a really good removal card. It's just spot removal for 2 mana that you can just trade if you don't need it, which is pretty damn good. Then lastly, for the class cards, we have Warrior. Punch card has like a lot of combo potential. You can combo it with Soul Thrays, you can combo it with Outrider's Axe, you can combo it with, I'm forgetting what it's called. It's like Venom Strike Bow, I think, in Hunter. The thing is, it's probably not that good. Like, yeah, the card on paper is probably really strong. It's just, there's not much to use with it. If Soul Thrays does work with it and you get multiple attacks, that's going to be very fun as a fun combo deck. But if that doesn't work, which it might not, like, we don't know because we haven't had an effect like this that we can really check. It might not work, and that might, you know, make it bad. But it's definitely a cool card. I like the concept of it. I like that it gives, you know, benefits to certain weapons that, you know, we could get in the future, and it could be really strong in the future. But right now, it just seems like not much is going for it. Then we have Alloy Advisor. This is just like a filler trash card. Like, maybe you can run this in standard to just like be a stopgap for aggro, because it probably gets hit 2 or 3 times and gives you like 9 armor and has 6 health. And that's like not terrible. Like, it's not terrible, but it just seems like a filler card. It just feels like a filler card. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's okay enough for Wild as like just a stopgap for pirate decks. The issue is that it's 4 mana, and you know, Warrior kind of just has better things to be doing by that time in the game than playing like a 2/6 with Taunt. This feels kind of bad. And then lastly, we have Reserve Spot. So there is a world where this is just like an actually really strong combo card. You know, that you just like discount your combo pieces by all that. Given the stats, doesn't really matter, blah, blah, blah. But the funny thing is you can play this with Line Cook, set Line Cook to 1 mana, trade it back into your deck, I guess you would have to play that first Line Cook, which does suck. But trade it back into your deck, get it again, trade it back, and then you'll have, Line Cook is a 2/5, right? So 6 9s in your deck of Taunt that you can just bring out with your, 1-cost weapon, what is it called? Trusty Fishing Rod, or if you really wanted to, you could run, like, Spitting Camel in Wild, which is funny. I don't know why you would, but you could. Or you could play it with, like, Puppbot. Is that what it's called? No, not Puppbot. That's the Battlegrounds card. I don't remember what it's called. It's the 2-mana 2/3 Dredge. If it's a 1-cost minion, summon it. That card from Sunken City. It's a mech beast. And that's funny. Is it good? No. Will it be funny to do? Absolutely. Then we have neutral cards. So I'm going to have to rapid fire these because it's a little awkward. Travel Master Dungar is just like terrible. 9 mana, 3/3. Some Battlecry, summon minions from your deck that are from different expansions. There's just, I don't see any way to make this work. It's so expensive. People are trying to say, oh, play it in Druid, play it in Druid. If you're playing it in Druid, you're not running like all of your good cards. You can't run any of your dragons, which are the good cards in Druid. You can't run your combo pieces because how? It's just not a good card in any way. I don't see it at all. I'm not coping. I think this card is just objectively terrible. Then we have Dream Planner Zephyrus. It's like old Zephyrus where you can't really explain it very well. It doesn't explain what it does on the card, but you can get Ice Block from one of its effects, so I hate it. Fuck you, Blizzard. Fuck you. Why do you gotta make Ice Block, man? Okay, then we have Clumsy Steward. This card is like really toxic. It doesn't matter if this card is weak. It doesn't matter at all. It's just the fact that you can generate this card very often because it's 3 mana, and a lot of cards, I mean a lot of cards, generate 3 mana cards, or 3 mana minions. So getting Clumsy Steward is just going to feel like really bad for your opponent. And then, like, it's just one of those cards where, like, say I'm playing like a mid-range deck. I drop this on 3, and then my opponent is like playing a slow deck, and I just like discard their fucking Reno Jackson Lone Ranger. Reno Lone Ranger. I can't talk. They discard the Reno Lone Ranger, and there's literally nothing they could have done about that. At all. At least with, like, Far Watch Post, it just makes it cost 1 mana. Far Watch Post I mentioned. Oh, yes, I did. You combine it with Far Watch Post, and it makes it next to impossible for your opponent to be playing the cards that they draw. It's just going to be very degenerate. Is it going to be good? Maybe not. You know, it's kind of a little bit worse than something like Razor Scale overall, but it's just a degenerate card that I don't want to see, and I don't want to see in my video game. It just leaves a bad taste in your mouth to see a card like this, knowing that it's always possible to generate, especially for Hunter, because Hunter has a lot of ways to generate 3-cost cards. Then we have Carnivorous Cubicle. This card is very interesting. It's likely going to be good enough in Standard for like Egg Hunter decks, or any deck that really wants to summon multiple copies of their Unkillax, which is most of them. Unsurprising. It's going to be really strong, like really good in Standard. In Wild, it's probably good enough in Egg Hunter, I'd say. Probably. You can play like an actual full-on Big Beast Hunter with Cubicle, and it's maybe, I'm saying with a very slight maybe, worth playing. But I'm not too sure. We can't really know until we test it for this card. It's probably not. Big Beast Hunter is absolutely terrible. But yeah. And then lastly, we have Busy Peon. Shout out to that guy on Twitter. It's really funny they randomly put him in the game. I'm not joking. His @ is like busy_peon on Twitter. It's really funny. Anyway, 2 mana, 2/3, Death Battle. Your next location costs 2 less. I don't see how this card is not worth playing in Death Knight in both formats. I don't see it. You get Horizon's Edge out earlier, and Horizon's Edge is like the best card in Death Knight right now in both formats. So yeah, why would you ever not run this card? It just seems really strong. And then you can use it with the new card to get more copies of Horizon's Edge. Yay! In Standard, you probably still, of course, run it with Horizon's Edge, but you also have Prison of Yogg-Saron, which is really strong, that can make use of Busy Peon. But yeah, that's going to be it for me. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you think down below. Do you like any of these cards? Do you dislike any of these cards? Are you upset that Hunter got shafted again? In a row? Again? Because I am. And yeah, these are also my favorite, my picks for 2 favorite cards of the set. By the way, the mini set. I really like these cards. I, said it. So yeah, that's going to be it for me. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Shadows are rising again!
Darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers, and up from the dusty tombs, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly